Bonjour, everyone. It is Sue, the French Texpat. It is Wednesday, August 27th, which means that today is my 91st day in France. And I'm here today just to talk about what it's like being in a new country after one full quarter of a year. One of the exciting things about this day is that I am now eligible to apply for the French healthcare system, which I will be doing on Friday. I am lucky enough to be living in the city in my département where I can take my application in by hand and have them look it over in person before I put it in a bin, which, as I understand it from a friend who's coming with me to kind of walk me through it, you go in and they take a look at it, make sure everything looks good. If not, you have to go back home and get more stuff. But if it does look good, then they staple it all together and you put it in a bin, he says, that looks just like a monster shredder. So he said it's a little intimidating. But I'm looking forward to that. And as some of you have been watching other things that have been going on recently, Pippi, my older girl, had to have ACL surgery this past Monday. She is doing remarkably well, and she has not once even tried to get to her stitches or her suture. So while I am in the same room with her, which I am right now, I am allowing her to go without the cone. That's not the case at night because I can't watch her, but it doesn't seem to be bothering her as much as I would think that it would. So all things good. And in terms of going for walks today, the veterinarian, the surgeon, told me that if possible to try to get her out a couple of times a day, up to 10, for short walks if she felt like it. Well, the first day, she didn't really feel that much like it. But today, I had to steer her back home because she wanted to go for a long walk, and that just wasn't going to happen. She is tripoding it. I don't think that she has tried to put pressure on her operative leg yet. I've been watching and I haven't seen her do it, but there's a chance that she has just gently tapped it to the ground and then realized that probably wasn't the best idea. And she's sailing through her little mini PT sessions like a champ. And in fact, I'm in awe of her because I was not as good with my initial PT sessions after I had my knee replaced. So she is shaming me in terms of being a good patient. So that's the current stuff that's going on. What about being in France for 90 days? What does it feel like? It's interesting because in some ways the honeymoon phase is still going on, which you would expect because it's so much that is new and different. But in many other ways, which is very comforting, it's starting to be just life as usual, even though it is in a different country. For example, I pretty much know where everything is in the few grocery stores that I frequent. I haven't been as much to some of the boulangeries or restaurants that I would like to, but that's not a big surprise because that's not the type of thing that I did before. So to think that I would automatically turn into a restaurant-going person for lunch a couple of days a week is not really me. It's a little bit more me now as I'm meeting people and socializing, but not all the time. So again, it's real life. It just feels like it's normal stuff that's going on. When I'm driving now, which I will be giving up my rent car at the end of this week, but things feel comfortable and normal, even though driving in roundabouts is not something that those of us from the U.S. are that familiar with on a consistent basis. It is now kind of second nature, and that's a nice feeling too. It does help that French drivers drive on the exact same side of the road and have the steering wheel in the exact same place as we do in the United States. So that is not a adaptation that I had to make, whereas those coming from Australia or New Zealand or Great Britain have to make that transition, which is hard. I have driven on the quote-unquote opposite side of the road when I was in New Zealand, and it is a brain teaser until you get comfortable with it. Add in being in a non-familiar country, and it can add to the sense of overwhelm. And that's another thing that I am still experiencing on a regular basis, overwhelm, but not as much as I was, of course, the first several weeks. And during those first several weeks, of course, there were a lot of things that needed to be accomplished or ticked off the to-do list within certain time frames. Some of them with tighter time frames than others. But all of those now I have done for year 1 of my residency permit, except for dropping off the Carte Vitale application, which of course will be done on Friday. I am waiting to hear about my driver's license exchange. I am waiting to hear from the Aude prefecture, which is where I landed when I first moved to France, about an upcoming OFII or OFI appointment, which is a requirement for residency. It's not tied to the health insurance application, although they both do have your health as a topic in common. But I don't expect to hear back from them based on other people's experiences until at the very earliest end of September. Anything before that, I would be shocked. But I think October, maybe even mid-November, is more likely. I have found a warm and welcoming expat or immigrant group here in Albany, mostly American, but a lot of the people have French connections, spouses and or children that are French. So it truly is a good blend of people. Interestingly enough, there's not anybody British or South African or Canadian or New Zealand or Australian in this group of English speakers. I do know that there are some of those groups here in Albany, but for whatever reason, this group that kind of coalesced way before I came here is a small Franco-American family, and it's simply lovely. And I feel very, very blessed to have been welcomed into this group. It does make it easier on the daily basis to know that you have people that you can ask questions of or get information on where to find certain things that is not as draining as trying to do it in French. I don't mind using my extremely poor spoken French at this point in time at all. And all of the places where I have chosen to give it a go have been incredibly helpful and supportive. And most of them are also trying to increase their usage of English. So it's kind of a back and forth of a conversation in poor French and poor English. And it's kind of comical, but at the same time, it's very instructive for both people having the conversation. So I appreciate that. Good example of that is going to the veterinary offices that I have gone to for Pippi's knee issue. First the local veterinarian and then the specialist surgeon veterinarian that is in a town about 45 minutes away. The one thing that does bother me about myself, and it's all due to myself putting pressure on myself and nobody else putting pressure on me, is that I would like to be more fluent in French at this point in time, and I'm not. I still am doing at least some French instruction on a daily basis, not as much as I would like to. I'm shooting for 2 hours a day, and I'm getting usually about 1 hour a day, and none of it is really tightly focused on speaking, and that's what I need to be doing. So I will be looking into that as we move into the fall. But I also have to give myself a little bit of some leeway because there are so many other things to navigate and juggle when you are making such a big life change like this, that honestly, if the only thing right now that I can think of that is not up to my standards for myself yet is my level of spoken French, and I've only been here 91 days, then I need to cut myself some slack and realize that that's all going to be coming, and it's not going to be coming far down the line. It's going to pretty much be my focus for the rest of this year. Everything starts back up again in September. School, every town has different types of clubs and activities and other engaging types of interactions that start up in September, and Albee is no different. On September 11th, there is going to be an organization hosting a huge number of different organizations that will be offering everything from pottery classes to language to sports to reading groups, probably, you name it. And they all come together on that one day to, in a sense, kind of provide their wares to everybody so that anybody who is attending can pick and choose from a whole host of things that might be a 1 or 2 week engagement, and some of them last an entire year, such as sports teams and other things of that sort. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I know, for example, that I want to join a hiking group, and then there's also a Nordic walking group here in town. So those are 2 things I already know that I want to be involved with. It would be fantastic if there's an English-speaking book club or a tandem English-French speaking book club. That would be even better. And maybe there is, so hopefully that will come to pass. And I know that there are some city-provided or department-provided French classes. I'm not quite sure. I have it bookmarked in a catalog that I haven't gotten back to the last 2 weeks since I've got the catalog. But I do want to look into that. And I do have some leads on some other one-to-one type of French instruction. And I know that that's what I need for the verbal part of it. I have tried one of the AI speaking applications, and it sucked. It was not accurately reflecting what I was actually saying. Didn't make a difference if I spoke incredibly slow French, or if I sped it up, or if I enunciated every word very carefully. It just was botching whatever I was saying, and it got frustrating after 5, 6, 7, 8 tries of wanting it to work. So I gave that up. Maybe there's other AI programs that are good, but I think I'll stick with trying to enhance my French by listening to the radio stations, as I have been doing, podcasts, tons of different YouTube channels. I need to get back into my French grammar. I really spent a lot of time on that last August and September and October. And I've kind of laid off of that a little bit, thinking that I would remember more than I have. And it's so different when you are learning things from an academic standpoint, as I was back in Texas, versus trying to put it into practice on a day-to-day basis. So my verb tenses are poubelle. And that's kind of it, I think, for what's going on right now. I've also recognized that I personally don't like watching YouTube videos from other creators that are anything longer than, at most, probably 22, 23 minutes. That is my cutoff time. I shut off after that. Maybe it's the ADD, I don't know, but it's just at that point in time, I just don't even want to bother. So I'm trying to keep my videos around that same length or shorter, thinking that there might be other people like me that want to check in with what's going on with whoever they're watching, but they're not really interested in an hour or an hour and a half long conversation, because that's a lot. I don't even want an hour conversation with my closest friends, to be honest with you. And I do have regular conversations set up with my friends in the US on a consistent basis. And I'm totally fine if they last half an hour or 40 minutes. So if any of you are watching, don't take it personally. I just can't stand being on the phone for that long. It drives me nuts. Always has, and probably always will. So that's just the way things are. And I think I'll leave it there. We're having some lovely rain that is coming in today, and it's going to be rainy for several days in a row. I'm really looking forward to that, especially because I'm trying to stay home right now with Pippi and nurture her as she starts to heal, and then she'll go in on the 8th, I think it is, to get her stitches taken out, and then we will drive back down to Castres on September 15th to get x-rays and see how the bone is healing. So wish her good fortune and speedy healing if you are so inclined. I want to say hi to everybody, new subscribers, hello, And especially a warm welcome to existing subscribers, people who have stuck around for quite some time. Everything is really wonderful to have all of you here, but especially those of you who have stuck through some of the early days. I appreciate that. And wishing you a bonjour. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you again soon. Au revoir.